Here I sit on St. Patrick's Day in my green shirt and my ugly green leprechaun suspenders, and I'm thinking about all the things that are going to be consumed today. All of the corned beef and cabbage, all of the green beer and green milkshakes, and I think it's great. I love a little bit of marketing, and I love a chance to be festive. Some holidays have become rather commercial, but, well, that's really up to the individual to see how they want to treat it. But it does make me think about some things that are marketing ploys. And obviously, a company wants to sell things, they want to make money. You can't blame them for that. But really, it's important to be an educated consumer and realize which things matter and which things don't when it comes to marketing. Let's talk about food, for example. Organic. Well, organic does not have anything to do with food quality. Organic foods are no healthier than the other foods. I mean, if you want to talk to a scientist, all food is organic. But we understand that in this modern world, that's not what people mean by organic. The problem is it's very hard to nail down what they do mean. There's no definition of organically produced food. There are no health benefits. As a matter of fact, studies have shown that organic farming is actually worse for the environment. You get higher crop yields, healthier crops, often healthier food with the evil GMO foods. There's another marketing ploy, GMO free. Well, we've been genetically modifying food for thousands of years. Some people think that today that means injecting some kind of chemical into them. It doesn't. It means manipulating the genetic material slightly to remove a minor problem or improve a characteristic. And there's absolutely nothing unsafe about GMO foods whatsoever. As a matter of fact, they're essential for feeding the world. It's easy to sit in a first world country and be selective as to what you want to eat. But when we have a responsibility to help feed developing nations and people in poorer areas, it's essential that we develop these technologies or higher yield crops, more drought resistant crops, things that we might take for granted here in Canada, for example, are life-saving in other parts of the world. What about gluten-free? Well, I'm all for food labeling. Some people have celiac disease, some people have allergies to nuts, some people have deathly allergies to shellfish. It's good to know if these things are included in your food. But a lot of stores have entire gluten-free sections, and they promote it as if it's some kind of health food. What is gluten? It sounds like some kind of evil chemical that's added to food. It's not. Gluten is a perfectly safe, perfectly healthy, naturally occurring, plant-based source of protein. If you make the decision that you want to be a vegetarian or a vegan, I hope you are not allergic to gluten, because you're going to need as much of it as you can get. Gluten is not unhealthy. Organic does not mean healthier. Think about some specific companies. I don't want to slander anybody, but I just want a couple examples from the media. Wendy's, for example. I really like Wendy's hamburgers. I think they're great. I think they're delicious. The fact that they promote their beef as fresh, never frozen, isn't the whole point of freezing things to preserve it without damaging it? I mean, yeah, okay, if you leave something and it's got an airspace in it and you leave it in your freezer for 2 years, it may get freezer burned. But freezing ground beef does not negatively affect its quality. One that really bugs me is A&W. Again, I like the occasional A&W burger, but they promote their stuff as raised without the use of hormones or steroids or antibiotics. I don't care. Matter of fact, I'm rather alarmed if you have cattle and they get sick and you don't give them antibiotics. That stuff has nothing to do, again, with the food quality. If I were going to look at a fast food restaurant, and I'm mentioning A&W, but certainly it's not isolated to them, I'm much more likely to worry about the insane salt content in the food than I am whether the cattle were given antibiotics. They're not slaughtered with the antibiotics in their system anyway. They wait until that has run its course before they're processed. Salt. Oh boy, I could go on for a while about salt. For one thing, you see the packaging low in sodium. That, to me, I realize I'm being nitpicky with this, but that doesn't mean what people think it means. What the packaging should actually say is low in salt. What's sodium? Sodium is a highly reactive metal. It's soft, it's silver, it's shiny. You can cut it with a butter knife, and if you expose it to water, it bursts into flames. I don't want sodium in my food. What they're actually talking about is sodium chloride, which is table salt. Sodium chloride is perfectly safe. I mean, you don't want to overdo it, obviously. Too much salt can be hard in your system. You need a little bit in your system. But it's in combination with chlorine, which is another deadly chemical. When you put the two of them together, it makes the perfectly harmless inert salt. I have seen salt advertised frequently as being sea salt. Let me let you in on a little secret. All salt is sea salt. It's just that some of it comes from seas that have dried up millennia ago. There's no chemical difference between sea salt and any other sodium chloride based salt. Salt that's mined from land sources, from the ancient dried up seas, tends to be iodized, so there's actually a little bit of iodine content in it, which makes it healthier, if anything. Sea salt is exactly the same thing, with one exception. It's not usually purified as much, so you might get a few other minerals in there as well. I have seen salt as advertised as organic. I find that hilarious because salt is not an organic compound. Organic compounds are made primarily of carbon and hydrogen. You want to know some examples of organic compounds? Gasoline, propane, butane, plastic, alcohol. The other thing I've seen it advertised as is non-GMO. That one is hilarious because what does GMO mean? Genetically modified. In order for something to be genetically modified, it has to be, at some point in its stage, it has to be alive. Every living thing has genetic material, DNA, for example. Whether it's a human, whether it's an elephant, whether it's a tree, whether it's a tomato, whether it's a plum, organic or otherwise, it has genetic material. Salt doesn't. Salt has never been alive. Salt is a mineral. You can't genetically modify something that doesn't have genetic material. Some of these marketing ploys, people, they really prey on people. Sometimes it's just claims by shampoo. Strengthens it at the root. Well, I would hope it strengthens it at the root because the rest of your hair is dead cells. The only place it grows is at the root. A lot of these marketing ploys really appeal to people who don't understand the science behind them. It really frustrates me sometimes because I see people who struggle financially and they feel they can't afford to buy the healthier foods. And yeah, it's absolutely true that 2 liters of milk or 2 liters of orange juice costs more than 2 liters of soda pop. And it's really sad, but it's true. But in some cases, people think, well, I can't afford to buy the organic, so I'll just buy the processed. Well, processed meats and processed foods do tend to have higher contents of things like salt and fat and are not as healthy. You're better off cooking a roast beef yourself and slicing it than buying deli meat if you're concerned about health and fat content. But there is no health benefit to things that are called organic in the grocery store. None. But still, people are preyed on because, well, there is one difference with organic. It's more expensive. It costs more. So all of these marketing ploys are aimed at people who do not understand the science. There are examples in the field of alternative medicine. There are examples in other fields as well. But really the ones that bug me are food, because everybody needs food. Some people go so far as to adopt, I have no argument with people who want to be vegan, who want to be vegetarian. But as I said on a post on my blog page, we're humans. Don't feed your cat a vegan diet. That's another fad. That's something that's out there. People are saying, oh, we have vegan cat food. A cat's a predator. A cat, unlike a human, can live on a diet of just meat. As a matter of fact, they should. If you give your cat no animal products, you are starving your cat. I will personally bring you an animal skull from a predator, show it to you, explain to you the jaw, the shape, and why it indicates a predator, and then beat you with it. Okay, marketing fads really drive me nuts. I don't blame companies for wanting to sell their products. I do blame them for putting information out there that is completely irrelevant. Please make yourself an educated shopper.